In the dead of winter, when the mountains swallow travelers whole, a human woman is rescued by the one creature she should fear the most, the Vampire King. But saving her was the easy part. Keeping her alive. That may destroy his kingdom forever. Alright, before we start, where in the world are you watching this from? Let's light up the comments. The storm arrived faster than Amelia Snow expected. The sky had darkened slowly at first, just a thickening of clouds along the mountain peaks. But within an hour, the world outside her car shifted from a quiet grey to a violent white. Snow slammed against the windshield like handfuls of shattered ice. The wind howled in twisting screams that made her feel as if she were driving through the throat of some great beast. Amelia gripped the steering wheel tightly. "Just a little farther," she whispered to herself. "Just make it over the mountain. I can do this." Her phone had lost all signal 20 minutes earlier. The radio was static. She was alone. The road climbed higher, the curve ahead swallowed by the wall of snow. Her breath fogged the inside of the car. She turned the heater up again, but it felt weaker than before, like the cold was fighting it, pushing its way in. A sudden gust shoved the car sideways. Amelia gasped and steadied the wheel. Okay, don't panic." Another gust struck harder. Her tires slid. She lost control. The world tilted, snow exploding across the windshield as the car spun off the narrow mountain road. Metal screamed against ice. Amelia threw her arms over her face as the car slammed to a stop against a drift. Silence. She sat shaking, her heart hammering. The engine sputtered twice, coughed, and died. When she tried to restart it, nothing happened except a weak click. No, please. Amelia tried again. The engine remained dead. Her breath became mist. The cold crawled into the car like a living thing. She grabbed her coat from the passenger seat and pulled it tight around her shoulders. She opened the door. Snow blew inside immediately, slapping her face and stinging her cheeks. She climbed out, boots sinking into knee-high snow. The mountain road was gone, buried completely. The wind tore her shout away as soon as she tried to call for help. "Hello? Anyone?" Nothing. Her teeth chattered violently. If she stayed in the car, she'd freeze. But wandering in the blizzard seemed just as deadly. She hesitated, then forced her legs to move. One step. Another. Her vision blurred from the swirling white. Her fingers went numb inside her gloves. She tried rubbing her arms to warm herself, but the cold kept pushing deeper, eating her strength. Her breath came in sharp, painful gasps. I'm not going to die out here," she whispered, though she wasn't sure she believed it. Minutes passed, or maybe it was hours. Time twisted in the snowstorm. Her legs buckled. She landed hard on her knees. The snow felt soft but unforgiving. Her eyelids grew heavy. The world dimmed at the edges. "I can't. Keep going." And then, through the roaring storm, she saw movement, dark and tall, shaped like a man but impossibly still, like a shadow that had taken form. She blinked, unsure if it was real. The figure moved toward her with calm steps, untouched by the raging wind. Amelia forced her voice to work. Help, please." The figure stopped above her. Snow swirled around him but never touched him. His presence felt unreal, like a dream. His voice was deep, smooth, and cold. "You should not be here." Amelia tried to lift herself. Her hands shook too much to hold her weight. I got lost. My car crashed." The figure knelt. A pale hand touched her cheek. His skin was cold, but strangely comforting, like ice that didn't burn. "You are freezing," he said softly. "Your heartbeat is weakening." Her vision blurred. She saw only the outline of his face, sharp features, dark hair dusted with frost, and eyes glowing faintly like winter stars. "Who are you?" she whispered. He leaned closer. "Alistair. King Alistair Thornwinter." Her fading mind barely processed the words. "Sleep," he murmured. "I will carry you from this storm." Amelia felt herself lifted into strong arms. The cold vanished instantly, replaced by warmth spreading through her chest. Her head rested against his shoulder as he carried her effortlessly through the roaring blizzard. The last thing she heard before darkness claimed her was his voice. You will not die tonight, Amelia Snow. And then everything went black. Amelia woke to soft warmth against her skin, gentle, steady warmth that felt completely opposite of the storm she remembered. Her eyes fluttered open. She was lying on a bed made of carved ice, but it didn't feel cold. A blanket woven with frost-like threads covered her. The walls around her shimmered with pale blue crystal, glowing like frozen stars. She sat up slowly. Where am I? Her breath didn't fog the air, meaning the room was warm. Strange, considering everything around her seemed made of ice. Her boots and coat had been removed and placed neatly beside the bed. Her clothes were dry, as if someone had warmed them for her. The door slid open with a soft sound, and a tall figure entered. Alistair. He looked even more striking in the shimmering light than he had in the storm. Tall and slender, hair black as night, skin pale like carved marble, eyes an icy silver blue. You are awake, he said, his voice even and calm. Amelia's heart skipped. You saved me. Yes. He approached the bed but kept a respectful distance. Your life was slipping away. I brought you to my kingdom before the frost could claim you. Your kingdom? Amelia looked around again. Where exactly am I? He gestured with one hand. Beneath the mountain. The winter court. She blinked at him. Under the snow. Like, underground. Yes. He said it so simply she didn't know what to say. A moment later, the door opened again, and 3 new figures entered. 2 men, 1 woman. All shared the same pale beauty and cold presence. The woman spoke first, her voice sharp as icicles. She is awake. Good. Now let us settle this matter. Alistair's expression tightened. Marion, this is not your decision. The woman, Marion, lifted her chin. You brought a mortal into the heart of our kingdom, Alistair. We deserve an explanation. The man to her left, tall with dark blonde hair, added, We felt the disturbance in the magic the moment she crossed our borders. Elias wants answers too. Elias nodded once. Our winter magic flickered when she arrived. That has not happened in centuries. Amelia hugged the blanket tighter around herself. I'm sorry, I don't even know how I ended up anywhere near your kingdom. I didn't mean to disturb anything. Silas, the youngest looking of the 3, stepped forward. His voice was gentler. She is frightened. Perhaps we should explain things more clearly. Marion shot him a cold look. There is nothing to explain. Mortals do not belong here. Alistair stepped in front of Amelia slightly, as if shielding her. She is under my protection. The 3 council members stiffened. Elias frowned. You have not taken a mortal under your protection since. Alistair cut him off quietly. The past is irrelevant. The tension in the room thickened. Amelia swallowed. She finally found the courage to speak. Who are all of you? Alistair glanced back at her, his expression softening slightly. These are my council members. Marion, Elias, and Silas. They advise me and manage the affairs of the winter court. Marion crossed her arms. We do more than advise. We protect our king and our people. And bringing a mortal here is a threat. Amelia frowned. I didn't ask to be brought here. I was dying. That is exactly the problem, Marion shot back. Your presence weakens the boundary magic. Even a drop of your blood. Enough. Alistair's voice echoed through the room, low and commanding. Marion fell silent, jaw tight. Silas looked between Amelia and Alistair with an uneasy expression. What are you planning to do with her, my king? Alistair held Amelia's gaze for a moment before answering. She will stay here until she recovers. Afterward, I will see her safely back to her world. Marion's eyes narrowed. Safely back. You know the prophecy. Do not twist old prophecies into threats, Alistair warned. Elias stepped forward, voice calm but firm. Alistair, whether you acknowledge it or not, her arrival awakened dormant magic. The last time that happened, it nearly destroyed the palace. Amelia's stomach dropped. What? Why me? I'm just normal. Alistair turned to her. You are not at fault. Whatever happened is our burden to understand, not yours. His tone held finality, but Amelia could feel the council's growing frustration. Marian exhaled sharply. She is more than a burden. She is a danger. Silas frowned. We cannot judge her so quickly. Elias folded his arms. We must at least keep an eye on her. Alistair gave a small nod. You may observe, but you will not approach her without my permission. Marian's eyes flashed, but she bowed stiffly. As you command, my king. The council left the room, the air warming slightly once they were gone. Amelia let out a shaky breath. They hate me. Alistair shook his head. They fear the unknown. You are simply something they do not understand. She met his gaze. And you? Do you understand me? A faint, unreadable expression crossed his face. Not yet. But I intend to. Her cheeks warmed despite the cold around her. He stepped closer. You should rest more. Your body is still weak. Amelia hesitated. Will they come back? Marian looked like she wanted to throw me back into the snow. Alistair's voice softened. No one will harm you here. Not while I am king. She believed him. He turned to leave, but paused at the doorway. If you need anything, speak my name. I will come. The door slid shut behind him, leaving Amelia alone in the glowing ice chamber. She lay back slowly, staring at the shimmering ceiling. Under the snow, in a hidden palace, saved by a king who isn't human. Her life had changed in a single storm. She closed her eyes, letting exhaustion pull her into sleep again. Somewhere far above, the blizzard still raged. But down here, in the heart of the winter court, her story was only beginning. Amelia slept deeply, but she did not sleep peacefully. Strange dreams tugged at her mind, whispers drifting like falling snowflakes. She saw flashes of pale faces, long corridors made of ice, and a distant heartbeat that did not belong to her. Every time she tried to reach toward it, the sound faded, slipping through her fingers like cold smoke. When she finally woke, soft blue light filled the room. The palace was quiet, almost too quiet. The silence didn't feel empty, it felt watchful. She sat up slowly, stretching her arms. Her body felt warm for the first time since the storm. The clothes she wore were simple but comfortable, a long white gown made of something soft and smooth, not quite cloth, not quite silk. Her stomach growled. She frowned. Do vampires even have food? Before she could stand, the door slid open and Silas appeared with a tray balanced in his hands. Silas was the youngest-looking council member. His brown hair softened his sharp features, and his eyes, though pale, lacked the icy hardness the others possessed. He stepped inside carefully, as if afraid to startle her. I brought you something to eat, he said gently. She blinked. You have food. Not for us, Silas admitted, placing the tray on a crystal table near the bed. But the palace stores enough supplies for emergencies. We do not starve our guests. Are mortals often guests here? She asked. Silas gave a small, sad smile. No, this is a first. She took a piece of warm bread from the tray and ate slowly. The taste shocked her. It was soft, rich, and slightly sweet. This is delicious, she said around a mouthful. Silas's smile grew. Good. I hoped it would ease your morning. She watched him for a moment, noting how he kept glancing at her hands, her face, the space around her, as if checking something or waiting for something to happen. She finally asked, Why are you looking at me like that? Silas's expression shifted. His voice dropped lower. Because your presence, it changed something. We all felt it. Her chest tightened. Marian said the same thing. But I still don't understand. Silas hesitated. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small crystal shard. It glowed faintly, flickering like a candle struggling to stay lit. This crystal is linked to the heart of our kingdom, Silas explained. It glows with the strength of our winter magic. Amelia reached toward it, curious. The moment her fingertip brushed the crystal, a bright spark flashed. The crystal glowed fiercely, then settled into a steady pale blue shine twice as bright as before. Silas froze. Amelia pulled her hand back quickly. I didn't mean to. No, Silas whispered. This confirms it. Confirms what? Silas swallowed hard. You awakened dormant magic, Amelia. Magic that has been fading for centuries. Your presence alone reacts with it. Amelia shook her head. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not magical. I'm not special. Silas opened his mouth to respond. The door slammed open. Marian entered first, followed by Elias. Both had clearly felt the magical surge. Step away from her, Marian snapped at Silas. Now. Silas complied immediately, guilt flashing across his face. Elias approached Amelia's bed slowly. Touch the crystal again. No, Silas argued. Leave her alone. Marian ignored him. We need to be absolutely sure. Amelia hesitated, but she could feel the tension in the room tightening like a noose. She reached out and touched the crystal again. It glowed even brighter. Marian's eyes widened. The prophecy is real. Amelia's breath caught. What prophecy? You mentioned something yesterday. Elias answered calmly. Long ago, our winter magic was strong, eternal, and unbreakable. But centuries passed, and the magic faded. The prophecy said this: a mortal heart, innocent and warm, will be the spark that renews winter or the flame that destroys it. Amelia stared at them in disbelief. That could mean anything. Marian shook her head. It means you are the key. And keys turn doors, and some doors require sacrifice. Amelia's blood went cold. Sacrifice. Silas shot Marian a warning glare. We do not know that. But we suspect, Marian said bluntly. The air grew colder in the room. Silas moved protectively between Amelia and the other council members. She has done nothing wrong. She didn't choose this. She needs time, safety. Elias sighed. We will speak with the king. Immediately. They turned to leave. Marian paused at the doorway and looked back at Amelia with an unreadable expression. You may have warmed the king's heart, she said softly, but winter is not so easily changed. When the council was gone, Amelia sank back against the bed. Silas remained behind, worry etched deeply in his face. I'm sorry, he said quietly. They shouldn't have told you like that. Amelia swallowed. Are they going to hurt me? Silas didn't answer at first. Then softly, not while the king lives. Amelia's heart thudded painfully. And if something happens to him? She whispered. Silas looked down. She already knew the answer. The throne room of the winter court was vast and shimmering, built from towering ice pillars and glowing crystal flame torches. The air felt colder here, sharper, as if the magic itself was listening. Alistair stood at the center, his long coat flowing like black frost behind him. He watched the council approach without blinking, his expression unreadable. What happened, he asked quietly, that caused a surge in magic strong enough to shake the palace? Marian bowed first. Your mortal has awakened the frostbound prophecy. Alistair's jaw tightened. Explain. Elias stepped forward. While Silas was tending to her, she touched a crystal shard. It reacted to her. Strongly. We all felt it, Marian added. The magic returned to life for the first time since the old age. Alistair's eyes flickered, but his voice remained steady. That does not confirm anything. It confirms enough, Elias said. The prophecy has always been clear. Winter magic can only be restored through the heart of a mortal. Not restored through friendship, Marian said bluntly. Not restored through her presence. Through her heart. Silence filled the throne room. Heavy. Suffocating. Finally Alistair spoke, voice low and sharp. You will not harm her. Marian's eyes narrowed. Then our kingdom will die. It already fades, Elias added. You have seen it. The ice grows weaker. The crystals dim. Our magic thins with every passing year. We do not have time for your sentiment. Alistair stepped toward them, and the temperature dropped instantly. Frost spread along the floor, crackling beneath his boots. His eyes glowed brighter, more dangerous. "You forget yourselves," he said quietly. "I'm king here." Elias bowed his head. "We do not wish to challenge your authority. But we cannot ignore the prophecy. And I cannot ignore that she is under my protection." Marion snapped. "You rescued her from the storm. You carried her here yourself. You brought her into the sacred heart of winter. You created this situation with your weakness." Ice cracked violently across the floor. Alistair's voice thundered through the chamber. "Enough." Marion flinched. Elias stayed still. Silas stepped forward, voice strained but hopeful. "My king, maybe there is another way. Perhaps we can study her connection to the magic. There might be a way to restore winter without." "You are dreaming," Marion said bitterly. "Magic demands balance. Our winter has been dying for centuries. Something must be given for something to be restored." "Then I will give it," Alistair said. Everyone stared at him. "You cannot," Elias whispered. "Your death would shatter the palace." "And yet Amelia's would save it," Marion argued. Silas looked sick. "Please stop. You speak of her like she's an object." Alistair's voice grew colder. "Amelia is not a sacrifice." "Then what is she?" Marion demanded. "A stranger in our world who causes magic to awaken beyond our control? A mortal who stirs your emotions, weakening your judgment. What would you have us do? Let the kingdom die because you feel something for her?" Alistair didn't speak. He didn't need to. The silence was enough to confirm Marion's accusation. Elias looked at him with a mixture of sympathy and frustration. "Alistair, your heart has always been your greatest strength. It may now be our greatest danger." Silas stepped between them. "All the more reason to find a different path. Amelia did not choose this. We must help her understand what she is connected to before we decide anything." "She must not be harmed," Alistair said again, softer but still firm. "Not by you. Not by anyone." Marion clenched her jaw. "Then place guards on her door. Control the situation. But know this, my king, if the magic continues to fade and our world begins to collapse, the people will not follow your gentle mercy." Elias bowed. "We hope it will not come to that." They left slowly, their footsteps echoing across the shimmering ice. Silas lingered a moment longer, facing Alistair with worried eyes. "My king," he said quietly, "do you truly believe she can survive this prophecy?" Alistair did not answer for a long time. Finally, he looked up at the glowing ceiling, where frost patterns pulsed faintly. "I do not know," he said. "But I will not allow fate to decide for her." Silas nodded slowly. "Then we must find another path before the council forces one upon us." Alistair's voice dropped into a whisper. "There is no prophecy I fear more than losing what I could learn to care for." Silas's breath caught. "You care for her already." Alistair turned away, his expression unreadable. "I will not let her die. Not for a kingdom. Not for prophecy. Not for anything." Far above them, the crystal flames flickered, responding to a magic that was beginning to awaken. A magic tied to the heart of one mortal woman. And a king who had gone centuries without letting himself feel anything at all. Amelia woke again with the uneasy feeling that someone had been standing over her while she slept. The crystal lights in her room flickered faintly, shifting from pale blue to soft white, like they were responding to her breathing. She sat up, rubbing her arms. Her head still felt heavy from the tension of yesterday. Not much sleep could soothe the knowledge that an entire kingdom might want to drain her heart for magic. Her door opened quietly. Alistair stepped inside. He didn't glide. He didn't make his usual silent entrance. He walked, and she could tell by the way his shoulders were slightly tense that something weighed on him. "How are you feeling?" he asked. His voice was calm, but it carried a softness he never used with his counsel. Amelia hesitated. "Better, I think. I'm still trying to understand everything." "That is expected." Alistair moved closer. "The Winter Court is not an easy place for mortals." "That's an understatement," she muttered. He almost smiled. But then his expression returned to something distant. Something heavy. I heard what happened, he said. The council should not have pressured you. Amelia drew her knees up. Is what they said true? About some prophecy? About sacrifice? Alistair stayed silent for a moment too long. It is an old prophecy, he said finally. One that has many interpretations. But the council believes it means my heart. Amelia's voice cracked despite her trying to keep steady. They think killing me will save your magic. Alistair closed the distance between them, sitting on the edge of her ice-carved bed. Even the air seemed to soften around him. I will not let that happen. But you're the king, Amelia said. You're supposed to protect your people. What if they're right? What if the kingdom collapses because of me? Alistair met her eyes, his own silver-blue gaze steady and unblinking. Then it collapses. She stared at him, stunned. You don't mean that, she whispered. I do. His voice was as calm as the deep winter. Your life is not a price I will allow my kingdom to demand. For a moment, Amelia couldn't speak. The sincerity in his tone felt like a warm hand pressed against her heart. But why? She managed. You barely know me. He looked away, as if choosing his next words carefully. Because I know what it means to lose something innocent, he said softly. I will not watch it happen again. He didn't explain. Amelia sensed he wouldn't, not yet. Before she could ask more, the palace trembled slightly. The crystal flames outside her door flickered like startled birds. Alistair stood immediately. They are arguing again. The throne hall was filled with raised voices when Alistair entered with Amelia following closely behind. She felt small between the towering pillars of ice, but she refused to stay hidden in her room while decisions were being made about her life. Marian was the first to notice them. Oh, how convenient, she said coldly. Bring the mortal to the middle of the argument. Why don't we? Elias sighed. Silas looked deeply uncomfortable. We felt another change in the magic, Elias said. The crystals dimmed then surged back to life. Something is happening, Alistair. Something tied to her emotions. Amelia flushed. I wasn't doing anything. That is exactly the issue, Marian said sharply. Even your breathing affects the palace. Enough. Alistair stepped forward. The air calmed immediately, as if obeying him. Amelia stays under my protection. No harm will come to her. And your people? Marian demanded. What if the magic vanishes completely? What if the palace falls into ruin? Will you watch us all die to protect a stranger? Amelia's stomach twisted. She hated hearing this, hated feeling like the weight of an entire kingdom balanced on her heartbeat. I never wanted to cause any of this, she whispered. Silas stepped closer to her. We know. Marian scoffed. Please. Stop treating her like she's one of us. What if she is more than one of us? Silas shot back. What if she is different from any mortal we've ever encountered? Different is not the same as safe, Marian snapped. Alistair raised a hand for silence. Enough, he repeated. Amelia's presence may be dangerous. But so is panic. We will proceed calmly. No decisions will be made until more is understood. Marian laughed in disbelief. Calm. When the prophecy is unfolding before our eyes. Elias placed a steadying hand on her arm. We need more information. The prophecy is vague. Sacrifice is only one interpretation. And not the only path, Silas added. Marian pulled her arm away. You are all blind. The palace weakens every night. You feel it. You see it. And yet you cling to hope because the king refuses to let go of his new precious mortal. Her words struck the room like ice shards. Amelia flinched. Alistair's expression darkened, but he stayed silent. Marian continued, stepping toward Amelia until only a few feet separated them. You will doom us. Alistair moved, too fast to see, placing himself between them. Say another word, he warned, and you will regret it. Marian did not step back. If saving Winter costs one life, then that life should be given. That is logic. That is duty. That is cruelty, Silas said quietly. Marion turned her glare toward him. And your softness will be the death of us all. Elias finally intervened. Enough. The king has spoken. We investigate first. No action is taken until we understand more. Marion stormed out. Elias followed. Silas stayed for a moment longer, his gaze filled with apologies. I will watch them, he said to Alistair. Make sure they do nothing without your word. Then he left as well. The hall fell silent. Amelia rubbed her arms. I'm sorry. I didn't want to cause trouble. You caused nothing, Alistair said. Their fear drives them, not you. Amelia met his gaze. They're right about one thing. Your kingdom is in danger. And I'm tied to it somehow. But I don't know how to help. Alistair's voice softened. Then we learn. Together. He extended his hand. Slowly, cautiously, Amelia placed hers in his. The ice beneath their feet pulsed with faint light. That evening, he walked her through the palace. The halls glowed with shifting hues of blue and white, as if the crystals breathed. Amelia noticed how the ice sculptures seemed almost alive, like frozen memories. Your world is beautiful, she murmured. It once was, Alistair said. Before the magic began to fade. She looked at him. Can it be saved? His jaw tightened. That depends, he said quietly. On whether the prophecy means destruction or rebirth. She shivered, not from cold, but from the weight of his words. Ambiguous destiny. Threat of sacrifice. A kingdom at stake. And she was at the center of it all. Not because she wanted to be, but because winter itself had chosen her. The ceremony came without warning. Amelia had barely finished eating the next morning when Silas entered her room again, this time looking anxious. My king requests your presence, he said. Tonight is the night of crystal bells. What is that? Amelia asked. Silas hesitated. A tradition. One of the oldest. When our magic was strong, the crystal bells would ring throughout the palace without anyone touching them. Amelia raised a brow. So they're like wind chimes. Silas shook his head. No, they are more like heartbeats carved from ice and sound. That didn't clarify much, but he didn't seem able to explain it better. As evening approached, Alistair arrived personally to escort her. You look troubled, she said as they walked down the glowing corridor. He didn't deny it. The council will be watching tonight. They hope the ceremony will reveal how deeply the prophecy has marked you. Amelia swallowed. And they think it will confirm something. Yes. And you? She asked softly. What do you expect? I expect the truth, he said. Whatever it may be. The ceremonial chamber was stunning. A vast cavern of shimmering ice walls opened before her, filled with floating shards of crystal suspended by magic alone. Each shard was carved into a bell shape, delicate and translucent. They glowed faintly, like frost-catching moonlight. Amelia gasped. They are beautiful. Alistair watched her, not the crystals. They once rang every winter, he said. But they have been silent for over 200 years. Elias approached from behind. Until today, perhaps. Marion stood at the back of the room, arms folded tightly. Silas beside her looked worried, not hostile. Alistair motioned Amelia toward the center of the chamber. Do not be afraid, he said softly. I'm not afraid, she lied. She stepped forward. The crystal bells drifted around her like weightless snowflakes. The air hummed faintly, a quiet vibration she felt in her chest. Touch one, Alistair said. Amelia lifted her hand. Her fingertips brushed the nearest bell. The reaction was instant. A bright pulse of blue light burst outward like a wave, rippling through the cavern. The bells trembled, then sang. A chorus of soft, haunting notes filled the air. Like whispers of winter. Like fading memories returning. The sound was heartbreakingly beautiful. Alistair stared, his eyes wide. Elias stepped back, stunned. Silas whispered something under his breath, unable to believe what he was witnessing. Marion clenched her fists. There it is, she whispered. Proof. Amelia's breath came fast. I didn't mean to. Alistair moved to her side and touched her hand lightly. The bells glowed brighter. The entire cavern lit with living frostlight. Silas whispered, "She awakened the heart of winter." Elias nodded slowly. "The prophecy is undeniable now." Marion stepped forward. "And so is the solution. She must be." Alistair's voice cracked like a thunderclap. "No." He positioned himself between Amelia and the council. Marion's eyes narrowed. "The kingdom is dying, Alistair. And she is the cure." "She is not yours to harm," he growled. "She is not yours to love." Marion snapped. The room went silent. Alistair froze. Amelia's heart skipped painfully. Silas inhaled sharply. Elias closed his eyes, as if expecting this confrontation. Marion took a step closer, pointing toward Amelia. "You have let a mortal change you, weaken your judgment, and blind you to the truth. And now winter itself reacts to her. The prophecy demands her heart. And you." Alistair's power surged through the room, frost rushing up the pillars and walls, dimming the bell's glow. "I will not let you touch her," he said. His voice shook with something Amelia had never heard before. Fear. Silas stepped forward quickly. "Please, stop. All of you. Fighting won't help us." But Marion wasn't listening. "The kingdom will choose survival over your sentimental weakness," she warned. "You cannot protect her forever." Amelia's stomach twisted. Alistair didn't blink. "Watch me." He turned to Amelia. "Come," he said. "Now." She followed without looking back. The bells dimmed as they left the chamber. But the echo of their song lingered. Soft, eerie, and filled with the weight of prophecy. As they walked through the long corridors, Amelia noticed Alistair's hand tremble slightly. She had seen him powerful. Cold. Unyielding. But not afraid. "What happens now?" she whispered. Alistair didn't answer at first. Finally, he said quietly, "Now, winter changes." And Amelia understood something. Whatever destiny waited ahead, she and the king were no longer separate from it. They were in it together. And the kingdom would never allow that peace to last. The silence after the crystal bell ceremony hung through the palace like a thick winter fog. Amelia sensed the tension in every hallway, every flicker of the crystal flames. The palace seemed to breathe slower, as if holding itself still, waiting for what would come. Alistair walked beside her, but his steps were more rigid than usual, his jaw clenched in quiet fury. He had said nothing since leaving the ceremonial cavern. Finally, when they reached her chamber, he stopped. "I should stay with you tonight," he said. Amelia blinked. "Stay with me?" "Not inside your room," he clarified, though his voice sounded strained, "but nearby. The council will not move tonight, but they will move soon. I can feel it." His eyes, bright as frozen starlight, looked haunted. "Alistair," she whispered, "I'm so sorry." He shook his head sharply. "Do not apologize for something you did not choose. Magic responds to the heart. You did nothing wrong." "But you're fighting your own people," she said softly. "Because of me." He stepped closer. She felt his cold presence like a winter wind brushing over her skin. His gaze lowered to her fingers, trembling faintly. "I am fighting fate," he murmured. "Not you." A soft knock interrupted them. Silas stood outside the room, pale and breathless. "My king," he said urgently, "you should come. Both of you." Alistair stiffened. "What happened?" Silas looked over his shoulder to make sure no one was following him. "They're gathering. Marion and Elias. The guards loyal to them. They're speaking in the lower hall about taking action before dawn." Amelia's heart dropped. "They're going to try and kill me." Silas didn't deny it. Alistair's power surged in a cold wave across the corridor. Frost crawled up the walls. The air thickened. "They dare," he whispered, "to plot a coup in my own palace." Silas lowered his voice. "You need to be prepared. If they act, they will strike quickly. You and Amelia must." But Silas never finished his sentence. The crystal flames overhead suddenly darkened. All three froze. "What's happening?" Amelia whispered. Alistair looked up slowly, eyes narrowing. Magic is shifting. Something is. A boom echoed from deep within the palace. Then another. Cracks webbed across the ice ceiling like lightning. Silas gasped. They're breaking the heart seal. Alistair swore under his breath, a sound Amelia never thought she'd hear from a king. He grabbed her hand. Amelia, stay behind me. They ran toward the throne hall, the palace shaking beneath their feet. The throne room looked nothing like it had earlier. The tall ice pillars had dimmed. The crystal flames sputtered. Cold mist clung to the floor. Marion and Elias stood in front of the throne, surrounded by over a dozen armored vampire soldiers. Their eyes glowed with the pale silver of winter magic, magic drawn from the heart seal they had broken. Marion turned with a triumphant smile when Alistair entered. So, she said, the king arrives. Alistair moved Amelia gently behind him. Explain yourself, he commanded, his voice dangerously slow. Now. Elias stepped forward. We cannot allow winter to die. And we cannot allow your emotions to destroy us all. The prophecy is clear. Amelia's heart will restore the magic. Amelia's breath stumbled. Alistair's body stiffened. And you think, Alistair said, you can make such a choice without my permission? Marion raised her chin. You forfeited your right to rule when you chose Immortal over your kingdom. Gasps echoed through the soldiers. Alistair's eyes turned icy white. You would challenge me, he whispered, in my own palace. This palace is no longer just yours, Marion said. Winter belongs to all of us. She raised her hand. Take the girl. Everything happened at once. The soldiers surged forward. Amelia stumbled back, reaching for something, anything, to defend herself. But Alistair moved faster than air. He appeared in front of the soldiers in a crack of frozen wind. Touch her, he hissed, and I will tear this palace apart. A soldier swung a frost-bladed spear at him. Alistair caught it with one hand and crushed the blade to shimmering dust. Silas grabbed Amelia's arm and pulled her away from the chaos. Come on. We need to move. But Alistair. He can handle them. But he can't fight and protect you at the same time. Reluctantly, Amelia ran with Silas toward the back of the hall. The storm of magic behind them intensified. Frost blasted across the room. Alistair's power collided with the council's stolen winter magic, sending shockwaves through the throne hall. Marion shouted commands. Elias conjured spears of ice. Soldiers moved like shadows. Amelia looked over her shoulder just long enough to see Alistair fighting with furious precision, his coat swirling like black winter smoke, his eyes burning like frozen stars. He wasn't fighting to kill. He was fighting to protect. Silas guided Amelia through a side door into a narrow tunnel. This way. Hurry. Behind them, the throne hall erupted with another explosion of magic. Then, a scream. Not human. Not vampire. A sound like winter itself breaking. Silas flinched. Amelia froze. Silas, she whispered. What was that? Silas swallowed hard. The heart seal. They destroyed it completely. What does that mean? That the palace is collapsing, and nothing can hold them back anymore. They reached the old chamber, an abandoned room filled with strange stone symbols. Silas locked the door behind them. He leaned against the wall, breath shaking. I didn't want this, he said quietly. I believed we could find another way. Amelia touched his arm. I know. He looked at her. Really looked at her. You don't deserve this, he whispered. Any of it. Before Amelia could respond, the door behind them shattered. Marion strode in, flanked by two soldiers. Silas pushed Amelia behind him. Don't touch her. Move, Marion ordered. Silas shook his head. No. Marion's eyes darkened. I don't want to hurt you, Silas. But I will if you stand in the way. Silas didn't move. Marion raised her hand. Her magic flared. But Alistair arrived like a shadow of winter. He appeared between Amelia and Marion, frost exploding outward from his feet. His coat whipped in the frozen wind. His hair was wild. His eyes were pure white, glowing with rage and ancient power. "Enough," he growled. Before Marion could strike, Alistair charged. The collision shook the palace. Glass like ice shattered. Walls cracked. The soldiers fled as frost overtook the chamber. Elias rushed in from the hallway. "Marion, stop. The palace will fall." Marion screamed in frustration. "Not until the mortal is." A wave of Alistair's magic slammed her back, pinning her to the wall. "Touch her again," he whispered, "and there will be no council left." Marion's face twisted into something between fear and hatred. "You can't save her," she hissed. "The prophecy will win. And winter will take what it needs." Alistair stepped closer, his voice cold enough to freeze blood. "Then winter will learn," he said, "that I do not bow." He turned to Amelia and gently touched her hand. "Come," he said. His voice trembled. "We are leaving." Silas followed without hesitation. Behind them, cracks spread through the palace like veins of frost. Winter had begun to break, and the kingdom would not forgive any of them for what came next. The hidden corridors of the Winter Palace twisted like an ancient labyrinth. Alistair moved at an inhuman pace, but Amelia held tight to his hand, her heartbeat pounding against her ribs. The walls dripped with melting frost. The crystals flickered violently. The palace was dying. Silas ran behind them, breathless. "We have to get to the upper hall. The old escape route." "No," Alistair said firmly. "They will expect that." Amelia stumbled, but Alistair caught her, steadying her with a cold touch that felt safer than any warmth she had ever known. "Are you hurt?" he asked. "No, just scared," she admitted. His eyes softened, something fragile flickering beneath the ice. "I will not let them take you." The corridor suddenly shook. A crack ripped across the ceiling. Silas gasped. "We don't have long. If the heart seal is broken, the palace will collapse piece by piece." "Then we find a new heart," Alistair said. Silas stared. "A new heart? What do you?" Alistair didn't answer. He pulled Amelia into a circular room filled with floating crystal shards, the chamber of echoes. She felt her breath catch. The room pulsed with ancient winter power, swirling like mist. "What is this?" she whispered. Alistair stepped behind her, placing a hand gently against her back. "This is where winter first awakened," he said. "The oldest chamber. The core of the magic." Silas shook his head quickly. "My king, no. The prophecy." "Yes," Alistair said. "The prophecy." Amelia's heart pounded. "Alistair, what are you doing?" He turned her gently to face him. "The prophecy said a mortal heart would awaken winter," he said softly. "But it never said it must be taken by force." She blinked at him. "I don't understand." "You already gave part of yourself to winter," he murmured. "Through fear. Through hope. Through every breath you've taken since you arrived." The chamber hummed louder, responding to his words. Silas paled. "If you bond with her, your magic and hers will merge. The winter will rewrite itself." "It is the only way," Alistair said. Amelia backed away a step. "Bond. Merge. What does that mean?" Alistair stepped toward her slowly, not trapping her, but giving her space. "It means," he said gently, "that your heartbeat will link with mine. And through that bond, winter will live again." She swallowed. "Will it hurt?" "Yes," Silas said bluntly. "For both of you. It will tear through your veins like burning ice." Alistair didn't deny it. "It will be painful. But you will live. I swear it." Amelia's voice trembled. "And after?" Alistair hesitated. Silas answered for him. "After, the two of you will be bound. Forever. In ways even I don't fully understand." Amelia stared at Alistair. Bound. Forever. Part of her feared it. Part of her wanted it. But before she could speak, the chamber doors blasted open. Marion entered, battered but furious. Elias followed, blood on his jaw. "You think you can save winter with sentiment?" Marion spat. "With feelings. You are a fool." She raised her hand, magic crackling like wild frost. "Step aside," she snarled at Alistair. "We end this now." Alistair stepped in front of Amelia, his voice becoming a whisper of lethal cold. "You already tried," he said. "You failed." Marion screamed and hurled a spear of ice. Alistair deflected it easily, and retaliated with a burst of frost that slammed into her chest, sending her crashing into the wall. Elias stepped forward but Silas blocked him. "Don't," Silas warned. "It's over." "No," Marion shouted from the floor. "This is not how Winter survives. She is immortal. Her death is the only path." Alistair turned to Amelia. "Do you trust me?" he asked. Amelia swallowed, fear and certainty twisting together in her heart. "Yes." He took her hands. Magic surged. Pain struck first, sharp, freezing, blinding. Amelia gasped, knees buckling. Alistair caught her, pulling her against him. His body shook too. Silas shouted, "My king, stop! You're both taking too much." But neither Alistair nor Amelia stopped. Their magic twisted, intertwined, merged. Her heartbeat slowed. His heartbeat quickened. And the chamber erupted in a pillar of brilliant frostlight. Marion screamed in rage. Elias shielded his face. Silas cried out Amelia's name. And then, silence. Amelia collapsed into Alistair's arms, breath ragged, weak but alive. His eyes glowed with new power, brighter, gentler, alive. "It worked," Silas breathed. "The magic, it's different. It's living." Marion stared at them in horror. "You fool, you broke the prophecy. You changed it." "No," Alistair said, lifting Amelia carefully to her feet. "Amelia changed Winter. And Winter chose her." Amelia leaned into him, exhausted but conscious. Their hands were still bound together by faint strands of glowing frost. Not chains. Not sacrifice. A bond. A new Winter's heart. Silas smiled in awe. "The palace, it's stabilizing. The magic is returning." Elias looked at Marion with weary despair. "This conflict is over." Marion shook her head, tears of pure fury in her eyes. "This is not the end. Winter does not forgive." Alistair stepped between her and Amelia. "Then Winter will learn," he said quietly, "that mercy is stronger than fear." The chamber lights flared one final time. And Winter was reborn. The palace did not simply stop collapsing. It exhaled. A long, deep, shuddering breath. Like something ancient waking from a centuries-long sleep. Cracks sealed themselves in shimmering waves. Crystal flames grew brighter, spreading light through halls that had dimmed to grey. Snowflakes drifted from the ceiling, not falling, but rising, dancing upward as if gravity had forgotten its duty. Amelia stood in the chamber of echoes, her knees still weak, her hand still held tightly in Alistair's. Their bond pulsed faintly between their palms, a thin thread of frostlight that connected them like a heartbeat made visible. Silas looked around with wide eyes, his voice trembling in wonder. "The palace has accepted you," he whispered. "Both of you." Elias, still catching his breath from the earlier chaos, wiped a smear of frostblood from his jaw as he studied Amelia carefully. His expression was neither hateful nor admiring, just stunned. "It is unprecedented," he murmured. Marion, however, looked as if she had swallowed poison. Her eyes flicked from Alistair to Amelia to their bound hands. "This should not be possible," she spat. "The prophecy required a sacrifice." Alistair turned his cold, white-glowing gaze toward her. "Prophesies," he said softly, "rarely survive when the heart defies them." Marion staggered to her feet, fury trembling through her limbs. "You have doomed us all," she hissed. "Winter magic is ancient. It cannot be reshaped by emotion or chance. This bond may hold now, but it will unravel. Mortals crumble. Mortals die. And when she does..." Amelia flinched. Alistair moved in front of her instantly. "Finish that sentence," he whispered, "and I will silence you permanently." The threat wasn't shouted. It didn't need to be. The frost creeping along the floor sharpened at his feet, reacting to his rising anger. Elias quickly stepped between them, raising both hands. Enough. This is not the time. Silas nodded firmly. The palace has stabilized. The magic has returned. That alone proves the bond is stronger than the prophecy. Marian shook her head wildly, her voice cracking. This is not strength. This is madness. A mortal cannot anchor winter. She will doom us all when she fails. Amelia felt the words like shards of ice pressed into her chest. But before she could speak, Alistair turned his head slightly toward her. His voice softened. You will not fail, he said. She didn't know how he could possibly know that. But when she met his eyes, those impossibly cold, impossibly ancient eyes, she believed him. The chamber trembled again. Not violently this time. Almost eagerly. A pillar of cold mist swirled upward from the center of the room, forming a shape, something tall and regal, something with a presence that felt older than any king or council. Silas dropped to one knee immediately. Elias followed. Alistair stiffened. Amelia, he murmured, stay behind me. I'm not leaving you, she whispered back. A voice swept through the room. Not spoken aloud. Not heard with ears. A new winter rises. The mist churned, condensing into a form, half humanoid, half swirling frost. A face took shape, eyes glowing like stars trapped in ice. When it finally spoke again, its voice lared like 1,000 winds. The mortal has awakened the dormant heart. The king has bound himself to destiny. Winter accepts the bond. Marian staggered backward. No, this is not possible. The frost spirit is dead, it has been dead for centuries. But the being turned its glowing gaze toward her. Winter does not die. It waits. Its eyes then shifted to Amelia. And Amelia felt something push into her mind, not painful, but vast, heavy, immense. Like a glacier brushing against her thoughts. She gasped. Alistair grabbed her hand tighter, grounding her. The frost spirit's voice echoed inside her skull. You carry warmth in a place of eternal cold. You carry choice where fate once ruled. You carry a heart that can break or rebuild us. She swallowed, her voice small. I don't know what I'm doing. The spirit replied. Then learn. A surge of cold light shot from the spirit into the frost thread joining her and Alistair. Amelia cried out, stumbling forward. Alistair steadied her instantly, but even he winced with the sudden rush of magic. Silas shielded his eyes from the brightness. Elias dropped to both knees. Marian stared in stunned silence. The light pulsed once, twice, then sank into the bond, disappearing into their joined hands. The frost spirit slowly dissolved into swirling snow. Its last words drifted through the chamber. Winter belongs to those who survive it. And then it was gone. Silence settled like a soft blanket of fresh snow. Silas finally rose to his feet. That was the frost spirit. The creator of the first winter. Elias exhaled shakily. It hasn't spoken to anyone, not even kings, for centuries. Alistair turned to Amelia, his expression softening again. Are you hurt? No, she breathed. Just overwhelmed. That is understandable, he murmured. Even I feel its weight. But Marian's voice cut through the calm. This changes nothing, she snapped. A prophecy does not vanish simply because a spirit speaks. And Immortal will never be one of us. The kingdom will never accept her. Alistair raised his hand. Frost tightened around Marian's mouth, silencing her instantly. She choked but remained unharmed, frozen at the lips like a warning. Your voice, Alistair said coolly, has done enough damage today. He lowered his hand, but Marian stayed quiet, breathing heavily through her nose. Silas approached cautiously. What now, my king? He asked quietly. Alistair looked around the chamber, its rising magic, its glowing walls, its restored stability. Then he turned to Amelia. What happens next, he said with finality, begins with her. Amelia swallowed. The palace began to glow brighter, as if waiting for her decision. As if winter itself now listened to her heartbeat. And she realized. Everything had changed. Not just for the kingdom. Not just for Alistair, but for her. She was no longer a lost traveller. She was no longer a visitor trapped in a blizzard. She was something else entirely. Something Winter had chosen. Something Alistair had chosen. And nothing would ever be the same. News of the Frost Spirit's return spread through the palace like wildfire. Guards left their posts. Servants whispered in dark corridors. Members of the older clans woke from centuries-long slumber, sensing the power that now pulsed through the ice. For the first time in hundreds of years, Winter felt alive. Mixed emotions swept through the palace like a storm. Fear, awe, anger, hope, confusion, and something far more dangerous. Division. Some bowed to the idea of a renewed winter. Some bowed to the idea of a new queen. And some cursed it. Alistair and Amelia were escorted, quietly but urgently, toward the High Council Hall for an emergency assembly. Silas walked beside them, eyes sharp, every sense alert. Elias followed behind, tense but composed. Marion was nowhere to be seen. No one had asked where she went. No one wanted to know what she might be planning. Inside the High Council Hall, dozens of figures waited, noble vampires with pale eyes, regal clothes, and expressions carved from marble. The moment Amelia entered, whispers broke out like cracking ice. Immortal. She's the one. That bond, did you see the light? Impossible. Blasphemy. Miracle. Alistair guided Amelia forward with a steady hand at her back. His presence unnerved the room, his newly amplified aura radiating through the hall. Silas stepped ahead, projecting his voice. The king will speak. Silence fell instantly. Alistair moved to the center, Amelia at his side. Dozens of ancient eyes followed her every breath. My people, Alistair began, winter has been reborn tonight. A ripple ran through the hall. Not through sacrifice, he continued. Not through death. Not through fear. He glanced down at Amelia. But through a bond that defies prophecy. Murmurs rose again. One of the elders stepped forward, Lady Rowan, her silver hair braided with frost crystals. Your Majesty, she said carefully, is this mortal truly connected to our magic? Alistair looked to Amelia. Show them, he murmured. She hesitated. Her heart beat faster. But then she exhaled slowly and lifted her hand. Frostlight flickered in her palm, soft, pale, pulsing like a heartbeat. Not cold. Not violent. Just, alive. The hall gasped as one. Another elder stood. She wields winter magic, he breathed. Without turning cold. It is warm, said another, eyes wide. Cold and warm at once. This is unnatural, someone hissed. This is destiny, someone else whispered. Silas stepped forward. The frost spirit appeared. It acknowledged the bond. More gasps. A few vampires dropped to their knees instinctively, trembling. Elias added. The palace itself responded. The magic stabilized. Alistair straightened, his voice now edged with authority that demanded obedience. The age of fading winter is over. A new era begins. Silence. Then, what is she to us? Someone shouted. Immortal cannot be our queen. She is the heart of our magic now, another argued. She is fragile, someone objected. What happens when she dies? Alistair's voice thundered across the hall. She will not die. The hall froze. Amelia stared at him in shock. But Alistair continued, unwavering. Winter has bound itself to her. And I will ensure she survives as long as I rule. A heavy hush fell. For vampires, as long as I rule was not a short promise. It was centuries. Generations. A choice that changed the kingdom's entire future. Lady Rowan bowed her head. If the frost spirit has returned, we cannot deny its will. Others nodded. But not all. A voice rose from the back, cold, sharp, hateful. We will. Marion stepped into view. Gasps echoed. Her lip was cut. Her clothes were torn. Her eyes burned with feverish hatred. Silas instinctively positioned himself in front of Amelia, but Alistair lifted a hand, stopping him. Marion pointed at Amelia as if she were a cursed omen. This mortal does not belong here. She is not one of us. Her warmth will rot our winter from the inside out. You cannot bind our future to a beating human heart. Alistair stepped forward, expression calm but terrifying. You plotted a coup, he said evenly. You endangered our kingdom. And you attacked Amelia under my protection. Marion trembled with rage. I acted to save us. You acted out of fear, Alistair replied. Fear, she shouted, keeps kingdoms alive. No, he said softly. Hope does. Marion's fury broke like a storm. You have condemned us, she screamed. And one day, this mortal will betray you. Mortals always do. Amelia flinched, but she didn't hide. She stepped forward before anyone could stop her. Her voice shook, but it carried through the hall. I didn't ask for this, she said quietly. I didn't choose magic, or winter, or any of this. The hall murmured. But I won't run from it, she continued. And I won't let your kingdom die if I can help it. She met Marion's eyes. I'm not your enemy. Marion stared at her with a strange, broken expression. Then she whispered. You already are. Before anyone could react, Marion drew a shard of enchanted ice and hurled it straight at Amelia's heart. Time seemed to stop. Silas screamed. Elias lunged forward. Gasps shattered through the hall. But Alistair moved faster than a falling snowflake. He caught the shard in midair, held it, and crushed it in his fist. Frost exploded from his hand with a sound like thunder. The hall shook. The temperature plummeted. Marion stumbled backward, horrified. Alistair stepped forward, his eyes glowing like a dying star relit by rage. You, he said in a voice colder than any winter, are no longer worthy of this kingdom. Marion choked. Alistair, wait. Leave, he commanded. Now. Before I forget mercy. No one had ever heard him speak like that. Marion's face twisted in fury and grief. For a moment, she looked as if she might attack again. But Silas raised a hand, magic ready. She hesitated. Then she spat at the floor, turned, and fled the hall. Her footsteps echoing with the rage of someone who had lost everything. Silas exhaled shakily. Elias lowered his head. Alistair turned back to Amelia. She looked up at him, confused, breathless, shaken. Why did you? He took her hand. The frost thread pulsed between them. Because winter chose you, he said. He cupped her cheek gently, cold fingers soft against her skin. And so did I. The hall fell silent again. Not in fear. Not in anger. But in recognition of something ancient being rewritten. A kingdom reshaping itself around a bond that defied fate. Winter had always belonged to the cold. Now, for the first time, it belonged to the heart. If you're as deep in this world as I am right now, don't walk away just yet. Hit subscribe, tap that notification bell, and step with me into the next chapter. Because winter's story is far from over.